Hey everyone. Okay, so I promise I'll be a bit more regular this week. The boyfriend was visiting. Yay. All right, so we are almost done with the book. How exciting! My friend Lisa and Ben both picked up the next book I'll be reading. Uh, it's about a SWAT team consisting of werewolves. I mean, you know that's going to be fantastic. But let's finish this up. We have a few more chapters to go, and then, yay, no more. Okay, chapter 18. It must have been Albert's military background because, man, when he dropped a bomb, the entire country shook. I was still as jittery as a hurricane survivor in New Orleans, and I was sure that somewhere in Alaska, some poor Inuit had just taken a tumble from his sled for the very same reason. It is not that dramatic. 30 seconds ago, I discovered my dad was not only a mostly retired consultant for the agency, but he also maintained a few connections in Washington, D.C., who could make my life much easier and quite a bit longer. I'd believe anything. If Colin Bergman rushed in and told me pterodactyls were circling Cassandra's building, I'd run to the window to get a good look. Speaking of which, they were ready to burst in, despite my request for privacy. I could feel their anxiety through the door. I sighed. I already missed the good old days when being sensitive only pertained to vamps, and even then their feelings never entered into it. I also thought it would have been convenient to be able to open the door with a simple wave of the hand. Unfortunately, my newfound abilities didn't lean that way. Maybe I could buy a really well-trained dog. Okay. Sighing, I lurched to my feet and opened the door. They weren't pacing in the hallway as I expected. They were pacing in Cassandra's apartment. "It's all right," I said as I entered the room. They didn't exactly leap at me. In fact, Cassandra stayed in her tall wooden rocker, and Bergman continued skulking back and forth between her royal blue couch. Behind her couch. Cole came, took my elbow, and led me to the couch's matching recliner, gently set me down. "You're making me feel old," I told him. He just grinned. He sat on the granite-top coffee table that visually connected the seating area to a red brick fireplace that held dozens of white candles. So the living room, we don't know how big it is, has a blue couch, a blue recliner, a wooden rocker, a red fireplace with candles. What the fuck? "You okay?" he asked, inspecting me closely, perhaps to see if I'd grown an extra appendage during a brief separation. "You look better than I expected you to." "I feel better than I probably should. So things are squared away? For the moment. Can I get a ride back to my truck then? I really need to clean that pool or they'll think something's up." "Okay, but no snooping. Call me when you're done, too. I want to see those pictures." I checked my watch. "Jeremy ought to be up by then. I'll bring him along." I looked at Bergman, raised my eyebrow. "Follow us?" He nodded. "Then you and I need to talk." He looked pointedly at Cole. "Alone." I wanted to snarl. Well, of course alone. We already established that Cole would be going somewhere else. Sometimes Bergman's paranoia made me want to break things, like his neck. But being a neurotic, sensitive genius, Bergman continued to benefit from my best behavior, for now. This girl needs to be on medication. Like, seriously. "Of course," I replied. "I'm anxious to hear what you have to say." I rose and looked at Cassandra. "Thank you for saving my brother. It was... wow, thanks." She nodded graciously. "I'll see you later." "You will?" "Yes." She didn't elaborate, so I let it go. No sense in chasing more problems. "Until then, I must ask you to be very careful." "Who, me? Gosh, Cassandra, I guess I should have told you. There's no need to worry about me. At work they call me Safety Sue." She gave a very unladylike which made me like her lots better. This book sucks. The four of us trooped downstairs, and, maybe seeing the way I'd oogled her fresh-baked goods, Cassandra gave us each a free box of blueberry muffins for the road. "I love girls who bake," sighed Cole as we drove back to his truck, with me behind the wheel this time. He launched into a rapturous monologue that featured, I kid you not, his mom's apple pies. From there he moved to his boyhood oatmeal cookie stealing stories, and by the time we reached his truck, I'd inhaled two of Cassandra's freebie. What? He launched into... From there he moved to his oatmeal cookie stealing stories, and by the time I reached his truck, I'd inhaled two of Cassandra's freebies. What does one have to do with the other? Like, what? And why do we care? Why do we care? Why do we care? I'd also decided if I ever met Cole's mom, I'd just come right out with it and ask her to adopt me. I let him off at the corner. Bergman pulled alongside me and yelled, "Follow me," out the window, so I did. He drove a dark green work van with no windows in back and tinted ones in front. The words Flaherty's Fine Foods was stenciled on the side in big gold letters that circled a picture of the sun, complete with curvy yellow beams, blues, brother shades, and a big toothy smile. He drove to a large deserted park. No kids played on the red and yellow jungle gym. The benches were empty, and so were several of the flower beds. What? The benches were empty, and so were several of the flower beds? He parked beside a pond with a working fountain, and I got into the van beside him. "Thanks for coming, Bergman. I really appreciate it." "No problem," he said, though he knew better. "I'm sorry about all the secrecy, but you said to bring all the bells and whistles, and I didn't want anyone else to get a look at your new toys." I felt a smile chase away my earlier irritation. I love new toys. He reached behind his seat and brought out a silver case with black combination lock latches, just the kind of thing inside of which you'd expect to find top secret weapon or two. Grinning in response to my excitement, he unlocked the case and set it on my lap. "You open it." I raised the lid. Inside, cushioned by a casing of black foam, sat three smaller cases, also gleaming silver. I nearly jumped up and down in my seat, but confined myself to a short round of applause. "You don't even know what they are yet." "Look at this," I demanded, bringing his attention to the case with the Vanna White-inspired flip of the hand. "Stuff that starts out looking like this always ends up awesome. Didn't you ever see I Spy?" "Come on," he said, his long, pale face twitching with anticipation. "Open them up, if you insist." The first case snapped open to reveal a necklace made with shells, beads, and an arrow-shaped item that looked like holy shit. Let's try this again, shall we? The first case snapped open to reveal a necklace made with shells, beads, and an arrow-shaped item that looked an awful lot like a shark's tooth. I pulled it out of the case and looked closer. Finally I said, "Okay, I give. Why is this not any other souvenir store ripoff?" "I swear, I can read. I know I can read." Oh. "I'll show you," Bergman said, his brown eyes behind his glasses gleaming with techno-passion. He took his keys out of the ignition and traded them for the necklace. He stuck the sharp tooth into the keyhole and wiggled it a little. Then he turned it sharply and the van started. To his delight, all I could say was, "Whoa, that's cool." He turned the engine off and handed the necklace back to me. The shark's tooth was now the shape of a key, but even as I held it in my palm, it reformed to its original shape. "What's your secret?" I asked, although I knew he wouldn't tell me, not even if his feet were bleeding and his hair was on fire. "Caffeine," he replied, and we both smiled. I put the necklace on, and he said, "Oh yeah, the line everything started on is super strong. It's been tested to 600 pounds. I fingered the beads and the stretchy cord they hung on with wonder. "Cool. Now I can steal some old rich coot's Ferrari and go fishing for Mullen with the same piece of jewelry. Not many women can say that, you know." "There's no doubt I'm blessed among them. What else have we got?" I opened the second case. It held a couple of hearing aids like the one I'd used and two round items that looked like mints. "Listening devices, I guessed." "And transmitting," Bergman agreed. "The round piece is made to stick to the roof of your mouth. The receiver goes in your ear. The second set is for veil. When you're both equipped, you can talk to each other without the bother of radios and headsets. The only downside is that the sound is a little distorted." "Yeah?" Bergman grimaced. "It's like somebody pumped up the bass. I'm working on cleaning that up." "What's the upside?" He pointed to two items I hadn't noticed because they were nearly the same color as the box lining. "Careful," he warned as I picked them up. They looked like fake tattoos retailers sell to little kids who hadn't yet heard of hepatitis. One resembled a line of barbed wire. The other was a long serpentine dragon. "These adhere to your skin and are indistinguishable from tattoos once they're on. They're transmitters," Bergman explained. "They should allow you to hear each other from a distance of about 2 miles. "No kidding? That far?" Bergman bobbed his head, looking like a rooster who just discovered the henhouse. You know, if they'd done a better job, if the author had done a better job of describing these things, they would be pretty cool. Right now, I really don't care. I opened the last box. It contained a simple gold watch with an expendable band. I turned it inside out and upside down, but it looked completely normal, so I put it on. Snap the band, suggested Bergman. I did, and my hand immediately began to tingle. The face of the watch turned blue, though I still had no problem reading the time. It turned white again, and the tingling stopped. What was up with that? I'm still researching all the possible applications, but at the moment I can tell you that the watch absorbs the energy your body movement creates and kicks it back out as an electronic shield. When it's fully charged, you can walk through a metal detector carrying a bazooka and no bells will go off. It also masks the sound of your natural movements. It also masks the sound of natural movements cause. It was a shitty sentence. Those are very shitty sentences. I'm bored, guys. It needs to end. So you're saying all I need to do is snap this band and I'm in stealth mode? As long as the face of the watch is blue. As you can see, it doesn't say blue long because it hasn't had much time to absorb your energy. It has a limited storage capacity. How long? 5 minutes at the most. Not bad when 30 seconds is all you need. So you like it? This was a side of Bergman I never figured out. The guy could make a lead door do backflips, but he still needed his pads. Are you kidding me? This is the finest stuff you've ever given me to work with. You really outdone yourself this time. Minus the weight of that worry, he sat a little straighter. Have you got a place to stay, I asked? Yeah, he didn't tell me where, which came to no surprise. Great, but look, before you go back, I have a couple of requests. I'm at your service. I told him about the bad blood and Vale's need for a clean supply. So is there any way you can process the tainted blood, see what exactly Vale's smelling? No problem. Bergman jerked his thumb over his shoulder, bringing my attention to at least 40 bags and boxes that filled the body of the van. I pretty much brought the office with me, since I wasn't sure what you'd need. My next request didn't want to roll off my tongue like the first, but I forced it. How about a willing donor for Vale? Bergman eyebrow shut up. Skirting agency supplies? For now. He nodded thoughtfully. I think I can arrange that by tomorrow, but there's no way I can get him a supply any sooner. Tonight's not a problem, I said. I had shed my bandage when I donned my costume, but Bergman's eye still tracked to my neck. If you could see the puncture marks between the gathering gloom and my mane of hair, he didn't comment. The blood's at the hotel, I told him. Follow me back? No problem. I jumped out of the van and into the Mercedes, to soothe Bergman's concerns that we might be followed, and, I admit, to give myself a few extra minutes behind the smooth leather-clad wheel. I took the long way back to Diamond Suites. Bergman approved the digs right up to the point when our exclusive elevator opened into our exclusive entryway and we discovered neither was as exclusive as advertised. Son of a bitch, I whispered, pulling Bergman into the corner. The scene reminded me of Christmas at Grandma and Grandpa Parkis's. The smell of cheap aftershave, the trashed living room, the sound of voices coming from the bedroom, two of them hissing at each other like a couple of pissed-off geese. I motioned for Bergman to stay put as I pulled Grief from its holster. He nodded at my watch band and held up his fingers, telling me I might have 20 seconds of stealth built up by now. I snapped the band and moved through the open door towards Vale's bedroom. Look in the closet, said one of the intruders, a woman whose accent made me think of those overcrowded trailer parks that attract cops and tornadoes in equal doses. Vampires don't sleep in closets, said her male partner in an equally thick drawl. Besides, I already checked. I'm not doing the accents. No movement or sound came from any other part of the suite, so I decided those two had arrived without reinforcements. I edged along the wall until I stood next to the open doorway. We should have never taken this job, Rudy, the woman whined. Killing the undead is no way to make a living. You're the one who wanted to go straight, Amy Jo, not me. I'd be just as happy popping cheating husbands and rich old uncles. Now what kind of folks would we be if we kept going around murdering other people's folks? Did you look under the bed? Yes, I looked under the bed. Rudy's voice held that defeated note of exasperation sung by henpecked husbands the world over. Sounds like it's not your day, Rudy, I said as I stepped into the doorway and took careful aim. I picked the target closest to me, knowing in a moment the shock would wear off. They'd react, and I'd better be ready to shoot. Unfortunately, my target was heavily pregnant, so my own initial shock offset theirs, and we all recovered at pretty much the same time. Don't shoot, Rudy yelled, jumping in front of Amy Jo, and no doubt scoring a lifetime of brownie points in the process. Behave yourselves and I won't have to, I said, in the most professional voice I could muster, considering Amy Jo reminded me strongly of Evie, and she and Rudy both wore black clothing covered with bright yellow fabric painted crossed. You guys look like you should be representing the letter T on Sesame Street. They traded a look that said that they'd had the same discussion. Who are you? Rudy demanded, rather haughtily, I thought. After all, he was not only dressed like a letter of the alphabet, he looked like a young Mr. Magoo. CIA, I replied, sounding as crisp as a new $50 bill. And you two are flirting with a long list of felonies that will put you behind bars until that kid of yours needs knee replacements. We're just doing our job, said Amy Jo, flipping her strawberry blonde hair away from her face with one hand while the other guarded her discontented belly. Who are you working for? Rudy squinted his eyes tightly, and to all you could see of them behind his Coke bottle lenses were glittery black pinpoints. Who wants to know? I sighed. The CIA. I said it slow so they wouldn't misunderstand. Our acronym can be so confusing. Amy Jo jabbed her right elbow into Rudy's left love handle. She's the one with the gun. Tell her what she wants to know. It was Rudy's turn to sigh. We don't know. They hired us over the internet, nailed us half the cash, and promised the other half after we'd nailed the vampire. I lowered grief until it pointed straight at Rudy's crotch. You two wouldn't recognize the internet if a server fell on your heads. So give me straight this time. Rudy, before I lose my temper and make sure Junior goes up as an only child. Rudy let out a very Homer Simpson-like yell and crossed his hands over my target. All right. This couple came into the bar where we hang out. What did they look like? She had big boobs and bright white hair that went down to her butt, said Amy Jo, peeking around Rudy to make sure I heard her right. And he had longish reddish hair, finished Rudy. I think they were both vampires. Aiden and Liliana. Should I be surprised? Yeah, I thought so. You don't hire a couple of local yokels to off two of the best assassins in the world, unless that's not really what you want for your money. Maybe it's well spent if all you want to do is distract said assassins from their original mission. It made sense, especially if you took it as an incident totally unrelated to all the other assassination attempts, which had seemed entirely genuine. The vampire after was already smoke, I told them. What? The two of them squawked like a couple of irritated blue jays. Yeah, thought he needed a suntan, I guess. Walked right out into full daylight this morning. Son of a bitch, Amy Jo punched poor Rudy in the arm because, well, he was there. Look, I said, before she threw another jab Rudy couldn't duck. Tell them you backed the vamp. He's gone, so it wouldn't really matter if you took the credit. Then get out of town. Way out. You get the cash and help the CIA at the same time. Amy Jo looked a little doubtful, but Rudy grinned and rubbed his palms together as if they'd already been greased. We can do that. And, I motioned to their costumes. I'd rethink the vamp smoking biz. The old ones are too smart to allow themselves to be staked in their sleep. Most others keep together tougher goons, than you around to guard them while they're vulnerable. Why don't you go straight and open a liquor store or something? Wow, said Amy Jo. How did you know? Because you are me and Evie minus college and Granny May. The word sat silent on my tongue. I just looked at her, and when her eyes narrowed, I knew she had me pegged. You're a sweep, aren't you? I shrugged. I'm not familiar with that term. Like a chimney sweep. You dust vampires and get rid of the ashes. Dust people too, I'm betting, she said, nodding wisely like an old Chinese monk. I accepted her metaphor, despite her ignorance of what actually happens when a vamp goes bye-bye for good. Yes, I said, I do. I let her see in my eyes what all my victims had seen in their time. She was already a tough old bird, though. I couldn't put her age past 22, but I backed her up a step. Someday, you might even be as good as me if a vamp doesn't rip your throat out first. Of course, Junior there might not appreciate that. I motioned to her belly. There are moms and there are sweeps, Amy Jo. You can't be both. Hey, you can be a mom and a career woman, damn it. I stopped, mentally kicking myself for falling into lecture mode. Either she was smart enough to figure it out for herself, or she was too dumb to waste my breath on. Throw the room key on the bed, I told Rudy, too tired to be polite anymore. He fished the card out of his back pocket and laid it on Vale's comforter. We'll take the stairs down. I motioned them out of the bedroom. You come too, I told Bergman when he caught my eye. He nearly leaped out of our way as we moved to the entryway, a nervous gazelle smelling predator in all directions. To give him credit, however, he didn't rush to his ride once we reached the parking lot. He stood slightly behind me as Rudy and Amy Jo boarded their beige Chevy van circa 1975 and pulled away. Even from a distance, I could see Amy Jo talking into her cell phone, hopefully recording Bill's final demise. Come on, Bergman. Let's get you the blood sample so you can get the hell out of here. So Bill's okay? He asked as we took the elevator back upstairs. Of course. If you've taught me anything, it's to be perfectly paranoid when it comes to secure sleeping arrangements. He's snoozing in the basement. What are you going to do now? I mean, now that the bad guys know where you're staying. I shook my head as we exited the elevator and re-entered the suite. Trash by trailer trash. How poetic. I started picking up junk and throwing it into a pile. Find the one place in Miami that won't show up on this jerk's radar. Bergman frowned heavily as he helped me clean up. After a few minutes, he squared his shoulder and said, I know just the place. You do? He bowed his head. Actually, I'm staying there. I swallowed my spit and it went down the wrong tube. Through the coughing fit that followed, I said, Are you inviting us to stay with you? Bergman nodded unhappily. I figured it's the patriotic thing to do. You figured rightly. Thanks. Boy, would Vale's jaw drop when he heard this one. Bergman's privacy, as sacred to him as the Torah, had bowed to the needs of two of the agency's most notorious members. I'd have to choose the right time to tell him, definitely after he'd climbed off the top of the toilet paper cabinet, upon which he now roasted. After our little confrontation the evening before, I'd expected him to complain when I stomped into his room and demanded that he change sleeping quarters so I could leave him during the day without worrying. But he just shrugged, grabbed a pillow, and followed me to the darkest corner I could find. I covered him with a tarp and disguised the lump he made by placing a row of paint cans along the top of the cabinet. Sorry, I said as I turned to leave, knowing he was lying in enough mid-lute to start a spore factory. It's fine, I heard him say. There's a hot shower a hot shower cannot cure. What a guy. Too bad he's been mostly dead for centuries. Alright, we're going to do one more chapter, because the next chapter's pretty short, so we can get through this fucking book as quick as possible. Chapter 19. Bergman and I sat on a couple of overturned 5-gallon buckets in the basement of Diamond Suites, waiting for night to fall. Any minute now Bill would stir, and he probably wouldn't appreciate the audience, but Bergman's unspoken sense of urgency had rubbed off on me. We really needed to get out of here before Aiden and Ileana caught on to our scam and resorted to something more dependable than Southern fried assassins, like a bomb. The last vestige of light left the basement. Yeah, creepy. Bergman and I flicked on our flashlights. Somehow that made it worse, and it was no consolation to know there really could be monsters hiding in the shadows between the boiler and the storage closets. I'd been eyeing the edges of Freakout Land for maybe a minute when I heard a huge gasping gulp that made me jump up and overturn my bucket, despite the fact that I'd been expecting it. It was the sound of magic bringing Vale back to life. He couldn't bear to leave. When the muttering started, I relaxed. The plastic on top of the cabinet in the furthest corner of the basement creaked as Bill started to move, his complaints getting louder as he remembered where he was. With our flashlights trained on him, we were mesmerized by the sight of a vamp dressed in blue plastic. We watched him struggle to escape seemingly endless yards of tarp while paint cans dropped off the cabinet's edge like gumballs from a faulty machine. Still enmeshed from the knees down, Bill flopped off the cabinet before he realized he needed a hand down, falling fast and hard like a penguin who hadn't brought the whole flightless scenario. Somehow he recovered, so quickly his movements were a dizzying blur, and landed on his feet. These guys are assholes. Why wouldn't they move the paint cans and the fucking tarp before he woke up? What are you doing here? He grumbled, giving Bergman a slight nod to acknowledge his arrival. Waiting for you, I replied. Need some coffee, do you? No. He looked pointedly at my neck and said, and, this is embarrassing, but I'm pretty sure I blushed. Nevertheless, I barreled on. Bergman needs a day to find you a willing donor. I told you, I can find my own donors, he snapped. He took a minute to regroup. I'm sorry. Waking is never pleasant for me. What I meant to say... He stopped, took inward stock, and started over. What I now realize is that I do not need any donors, not tonight anyway. I woke with the same longing as ever, but without the need. Last night, the blood I took last night was more potent than I realized. I cleared my throat. What do you say when you find out your blood is really filling? It's not a manwich, it's a meal. Nope, not going there. We need to get out of here as soon as possible. I gave Bill the short version of reading Amy Jo's adventures and my distraction theory. I also told him about my visit with Cassandra. His immobile face registered actual shock when I mentioned the trial Dagon. I know, I said. It's supposed to be a mythical creature. Am I right? I certainly thought so. Well, look, Assan's goon said they're doing a ceremony tomorrow for this trial at Dagan. The senator's coming, so you know it's important. I figure we eliminate Assan tonight after we get the details we need to crash this party and, like the hero and heroine in a really fine melodrama, foil their plans. I agree, but we must anticipate what other distractions they must throw at us to keep us from accomplishing that. Right on cue, my phone rang. It was Cole. Lucille, my building's on fire. The pictures, they're burning. Where are you? Here, with the fire trucks. Holy crap. Listen, it's not an accident. Assan is onto you. Look around. Do you see any of his men? No, I don't know. There's dark patches. They could be hiding. Through the phone, I heard an explosion. Through the phone, I heard an explosive popping noise. Cole, what's that? The windows just exploded. Oh my god, my business. We'll work it out for you, Cole, but right now you need to run. Hey, what are you doing? Let me go. Cole, tell me. Lucille, they've. The phone went dead. I shoved it into my pocket and jumped up. Assan has Cole. Vale laid a hand on my shoulder, probably to keep me from sprinting off into the night like some mad cross-country runner. We will bring him back tonight, but we need to retrieve Cassandra as well. She's the only other person who has had contact with us. They may know about her. They may use her as the next distraction. I wanted to say something stupid like, but she's not on the way. I held my tongue. Vale was right. I should call her, though, so she'll be ready to go when we come. I imagine she already knows. Bergman and I had already packed everything that could be salvaged into the van. The Mercedes would stay put until the dealer came for it at the end of the week. We didn't exactly tear out of the parking lot, but we wasted no time hitting the road. Bergman drove while Vale and I sat in the bucket seats behind him, our legs pinned between boxes and trunks. Naturally, since I wasn't driving, traffic cooperated. I'm sorry, Vale said, his voice low in my ear. I know you cherish your privacy, but your emotions are shooting out of you like fireworks. You have every right to be scared and worried, but you cannot let those feelings take you over. Not tonight. A spurt of anger made me want to slap him, as if I was some diva who didn't get the double stuffed Oreo she demanded before her concert. That doesn't even make sense, guys. What the fuck? I took a deep breath and then another. Okay, rein it in. I understand. I will. Cassandra waited for us on the curb in front of our store, 2 bags in hand, 2 on the sidewalk beside her. Even after everything I'd seen and done in my life, the Midwesterner in me thought, wow, that's just weird. But weird in a way I deeply appreciated. Bergman helped her load her stuff, giving Vale and I each a bag to hold on our laps. She kept the other 2, tucking one beneath her feet and keeping the other one in hand. No speeding, I told Bergman. As he settled back behind the wheel, you hit a bump going over 60 and your exhaust is going to snap off like a Lego. I know, I pack too much, I always do. He sounded so contrite I backed off. You wouldn't have brought it if you didn't need it. That's why I like you, Jazz. You never make fun of my craziness. If you could watch a film of my childhood, you'd know why. He chuckled the way a person will who's had similar suspicions about insanity in the family. Where to now? I looked at Vale. Bergman's offered us asylum. We get to stay on his turf, as long as we make our beds and put our dirty plates in the dishwasher. Excellent. Take us there, if you please. Vale looked at Cassandra then. It's good to see you again. Likewise. She looked at me and smiled. Hello, Lucille. Or should I call you Jazz? Why don't we stick with Lucille? The less you know about me, the better. But that's why I'm here. Really? She held my gaze, her eyes like twin wells in the dim light. I nearly kicked in my night sight, but I wasn't sure I wanted to see her that clearly. When we shook hands, the vision of David came stronger, she told me. But another crept in like a shadow, and I could not understand what it meant. So after you left, I consulted the Engliglios. Engliglios? Phil nodded, as if he knew what that meant, which irritated me. Or maybe it was the fact that Cassandra felt free to nose around my psyche. What's an Engliglios? I asked, the suspicion in my voice causing Bergman to flash me a look of approval. Cassandra slipped into lecture mode. It's a metaphysical library. It's full of the information seers have whispered to their descendants practically since the beginning of time. For the last several generations, we have taken it upon ourselves to travel the world, gathering and storing that information so we won't be lost forever. We? Asked Bergman. Who are we? An international guild I belong to called the Sisters of the Second Sight. Never heard of it. He sounded as snappish and impatient as I felt. No, Cassandra smiled sweetly. You wouldn't have. I cut to the chase before Bergman came up with a conspiracy theory even Julia Roberts wouldn't buy. So what did you find in the library? Is Julia Roberts a conspiracy theorist? She looked down, hiding her eyes from me. Uh-oh. I think you need to see it for yourself when we get to a safe place. I sat back in my seat and sighed. What are you afraid of? Phil murmured quietly in my ear so no one else could overhear. I whispered right back. She's going to tell me my dad's a demon and my mom was a harpy. She's going to uncover the fact that I'm a monster. I don't guess I'll be surprised to hear it. I've always known at some level. After all, it takes a certain level of someone to be capable of assassination. You just hate to have your worst traits come from our panel of independent judges, you know? Someone give her a fucking Xanax. I felt Bill shrug. I think your perspective is warped, but if you insist on looking at it that way, is it so bad to be our kind of monster? Look at the evil we have averted in our time together. He tucked away a stray curl behind my ear. As long as you do not corrupt any monks or paint eyelashes on the Venus de Milo, I would say you have nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. Nothing, nothing, nothing. So, we have about 6, 7 more chapters to go, and then we're done. We're finally done with this goddamn book. I'll see you all later.